All right, and welcome back, everybody, as this is Strange Planet Podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about and reflecting more or less on the events of the convicted felon, Donald Trump. And later on in this episode, we will also talk briefly about Steve Bannon, who's been delaying his prison sentence for quite some time. And now, if I'm not mistaken, it is in July is when he's going to be serving his time, and I believe it's only 4 months.
Actually, let's just get this out of the way, right?
Go ahead. Yeah, go
This
ahead.
guy was convicted. Steve Bannon was convicted in 2022, I believe, for contempt of Congress. He did not want to answer Congress's questions, and so, you can't just refuse to respond to Congress. But he did so with impunity, and he got sentenced to 4 months in prison. All right? 4 months.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a slap on the wrist, but he's been delaying this shit since 2022. So it's okay, even when we get justice, 4 months for disobeying Congress? Come on.
It's like starving us.
And he gets to delay it for a long ass time. And you know what? I'm kind of mad that they chose to impose his 4 month sentence starting in July.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted it to roll a little bit forward so he has to spend Christmas in prison.
That would have been nice.
But he doesn't even spend more than 4 months in there, so he'll be home before Christmas.
Unfortunately,
it's I don't know what it's going to take for our justice system to get its ass in gear. Okay. We have, with the Trump trial now, we have delays in that, both with Jack Smith's case and with both of his cases. And we have, the Jack Smith case in Florida, and as well as the case in Georgia.
Yeah, right.
The Fannie Willis case.
Right. And they're going to probably delay that until next year to see if Fannie Willis is able to continue prosecuting that case. And, that's kind of a self-inflicted wound on the part of the prosecution there. I mean, obviously, I don't really think there was anything wrong there. But again, it's not about whether or not something actually was corrupt or wrong. It's whether there's an air of impropriety. Now, we talked about this last week when it came to Samuel Alito. Justice Alito, if something gives off an air of impropriety, the legal system is supposed to step in and say, you know what, we're not even going to let the public entertain any notion that there's something, nefarious going on. We're going to correct it and just remove that doubt in anyone's mind. That's what they're doing, with Fannie Willis. We're putting them under scrutiny. But that's not what we're doing with Justice Alito, who's on the highest court in the land. It just boggles my mind that shit like this goes on. Go ahead,
to tap in there real quick. It also came out that the neighbors that supposedly they're having this battle with were they're fucking lying.
Justice Alito and his wife.
Yeah, they're like these two, they're lying. They're full of themselves, and I don't understand what's going on, but there's no beef.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, when your Supreme Court justice is a fucking liar, that's a fucking problem.
That's a problem.
That's a major fucking problem. If you sit on the highest court of the land and you're a fucking liar, that's a problem.
And if you think about it too, with all of these lies that all these politicians, congressmen, even the ex-president, for Christ's sakes, it's sending just the wrong message off. You know what I mean? Because now, we have a generation growing up now that's going to think lying's okay. You can just do these things and there will be no repercussions. You know what I mean? And that's a major issue because they're somehow liable and can get away with this shit or with minimal sentences. But damn well if that was any one of us or any one of the listeners, wouldn't go down like this. We would be locked up by now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It really is a post-truth era, and the truth is whatever you want to believe it is.
yeah, it's like my imagination land. Like,
That's
Yeah, but that only works for the white collars and those who have significant amount of money. For everyday you and me, we still have to live in the reality pool.
right.
And that's that's where everyone in here is just like, the fuck is going on? There's some bullshit, and I can smell it here.
Right?
Yeah, like could you imagine, like, if any of us committed a crime and were sentenced to prison, do you think our prison sentence would be postponed for like 2 fucking years?
Fuck no. Yeah.
If
No
if you
way.
had the
No,
money
we'd
to
be
go to court,
remanded to custody as soon
sure.
as we'd be remanded to custody as soon as the sentence was handed down.
They couldn't
Uh,
wait to throw you in the box. Like,
yeah, like
it's just, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, it just, it's just one of those situations where like you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and it's
It's
going to
gonna come
continue like
down.
this.
It's going to come down to the point where,
they don't fear their justice system.
No, and
that's
they know they can
because
get away with it.
it's because we look the other way when it comes to like these white collar crimes that are like ridiculous. I mean, remember when we had to bail out all these fucking banks because they fucked up? Did anyone take any responsibility for that? No,
Of
we
course
did.
not.
It's awful because for white collar crimes, they're for people who have the resources to know better.
Right?
Exactly.
Know better. They know what they're fucking doing.
Yo,
They're
for
not
real.
doing this shit out of desperation. They're doing it out of greed.
Basically, and they want to see how far they can get. And surprisingly, it's pretty damn far. You know, like,
The funniest thing about all of that is, who do they say are the most generous people? Those who have little.
yeah, I have
Say
nothing.
no. Yeah, because they know what it's like to not have anything. Rich people are like,
Exactly.
don't get a job, you slob.
Right. And it's just like we're in a situation now with the election coming up now where it's almost like this could unfortunately be like history repeating itself, because this, besides all the crimes he's committed and everything else, he added $8 trillion to the debt. Now, is that a good idea to put someone like that back in office? Like, where's the mentality here?
Okay. Yes, he was a horrible president, policy wise, fiscal wise, whatever. Fuck how he ended COVID. Like, okay, but let's just be clear. This guy fomented an insurrection
Yeah, for real.
against our Capitol, building. Had armed insurrectionists
Yep.
go to our Capitol, smash windows, break in, just stomp around on our Senate floor like it was a third world fucking country.
People got
All
hurt
while
too.
he sat in the Oval Office or whatever the fuck he was watching and fucking applauding that shit, enjoying himself. That's the kind of man that was in office, and that's the kind of man that's running for office again. Now, I don't care whether you voted for him last time, but if you vote for him this time, after he did that shit to our country, fuck you.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
if you vote
You're
for this
just as
guy,
bad as him.
Yeah, it's an enabler at this point.
yeah, if you vote for a convicted felon, he's convicted now.
Right.
This is not somebody using politics to make him look bad. No, he was judged by his own peers. They found him guilty. He's guilty. So, if you vote for him, we're gonna send Bubba to come visit you tonight. He's not gonna be happy.
They don't respect the rule of law. They
At
don't.
all.
Prison pocket, bitch.
When it comes to, they'll just say, "Oh, well, it's the Democrats that convicted him."
They didn't.
No one else was gonna do it.
Like,
Yeah, but if you think about it, like,
but if you commit a crime in the state of New York, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Democrats in New York. It's a blue-leaning state.
right.
But does that mean you can go to a blue state if you're a Republican and just commit whatever fucking crimes you want, and then cry that you're going to get a jury comprised of probably mostly Democrats? We don't know that they're Democrats. We don't know.
You don't know anything about that. Yeah.
Anything. Okay.
I swear.
But
with him, it comes.
You can't just declare your crime to be, unprosecutable because your jury is composed of people in the state in which you committed the crime.
Right.
That's
It's unbelievable. And my favorite part was when he's like, "Oh, well, this could happen to anyone." Oh, I hope it should. If you're going to break the law, you're going to have to pay for it.
Say that again. Trump
Hey,
said what now?
hey, he said like, he goes, "Well, this could happen to anyone." That's what he said.
Anyone could pay hush money to a porn star in order to stop the public from knowing about said porn star,
Right?
so that they would vote for you in an election, and that could happen to anyone.
You know?
Really?
Yeah, who knew, right? Like that's idiot. It's just so stupid. Like,
Yeah, there was this one.
Stupid are the people that buy what he's saying. Stupid are people that believe that it could happen to anyone and not someone in his position.
yeah. Were you gonna say that, Mark?
There was an interview he had with somebody. I forget who it was, but like the person asked him, what is your relationship with God? His first
Oh, boy.
response, I do great with the evangelicals. I do great with the evangelicals. And then he talks about how first, you worship God because you want to be good, and then maybe not being good is a good thing, and that's how it ends. And I'm like, wait, you just talked yourself into a fucking circle. Like, yeah, you worship God because you want to be good and you want to do good
People
things.
say that
and then,
Biden is losing it. Like, have you listened to a Trump speech lately?
Yeah, for real. For real.
I listened to a Trump speech recently. He was in, I think it was when he was in the Bronx, right? Decided, you know what? Let me hear this motherfucker. I haven't heard him in a while, right? He started ranting this poem, right? Called The Snake. And basically, the gist of the poem is that there's a snake and it comes to a woman's house or something, and it's injured, and she takes in the snake, and she takes care of it, and then I guess the snake eventually gets stronger, and then it bites her.
Okay.
And then he says, "Oh, well, that woman asked, why'd you bite me?" And the snake says, "Well, what did you expect? I'm a snake, and you let me in." And that was the moral of the story, was that he tied that to immigration. And he, I guess, compares immigrants in this country to snakes.
To the snake, yeah.
That will bite you. And he's like, did you like the story of the snake? Did you like it? Did you like the snake? Like, seriously, like that is a sick fuck for him to tell that story, like to scare people into being hateful of immigration.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what he was. That's the message that was being delivered.
What kind of Hitler ass shit is that to tell a story to scare people about immigrants?
And going
like,
back
sure, crime is a problem, and sure, some criminals are illegal immigrants. Statistically speaking, they're not.
And some criminals are in the White House. We just had one, right?
But the solution is what? Voting for a convicted felon?
Right? Because that's a good idea.
That's logical.
And what cracks me up about the whole convicted felon thing too is if you go for any job, pretty much in this country, even if it's like Best Buy, for Christ's sakes, you have to fill out whether or not you've been committed a felony or a misdemeanor. Guess you don't have to do that to be the president, huh? Yeah, I guess you can just walk right in there after that.
I mean, we all know
you can't vote for the president when you're a felon, but you can run for president.
Yeah, right. Because that makes kind of goddamn sense.
Interestingly enough, I did a little digging into this, and Trump actually can vote for himself in Florida.
In Florida,
it's fucking Florida.
Well, hold on. The Florida is very, they want to take away their felons, right to vote or whatever. But they actually defer to the state in which a conviction took place. If a conviction took place out of state, that felony
only counts for that state.
Well, no, it doesn't. They recognize other states' felonies, but they recognize the rules regarding those felonies in terms of voting. So in New York, you your right to vote doesn't get taken away when you're a felon until you are incarcerated. So you have to go to jail
First.
before. That's when you lose your right to vote.
Huh.
Okay.
And now
So
that comes down to the question.
Trump. So Florida will recognize New York's rule. So Trump can still vote in Florida as long as he doesn't go to prison.
All right. Does that include like house arrest?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
It depends on whether or not New York would recognize that as incarceration sufficient to take away a felon's right to vote.
Right. Huh.
I would think sure, if that was the sentence, sure. Now, and actually, I think not I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I believe that the right to vote is taken away until after you serve your time and probation.
Okay.
So once that is over, then your right to vote in New York is automatically restored. It used to actually not be the case, and actually, former Governor Cuomo signed that into law, where before you had to apply and make sure you pay all these fines and fees and paperwork, and it was a hassle to go and restore your right to vote after you were incarcerated.
Okay.
Cuomo signed a bill into law where it's basically like, okay, you serve your debt to society, your rights are automatically restored.
Restored. Oh, okay.
Right. At least I think for non-violent offenders.
Interesting. Interesting. And actually adding something to what Mark was saying before about him, Trump being religious, I'll never be able to wrap my head around how stupid that actually is. Because
Yeah.
we're talking about a guy who has 3 different wives, children with 3 different wives, paid a porn star off with the last wife while she was pregnant with one of the last kid. Yeah, that's real, real religious, just like the Bible preaches, right?
Speaking of the last kid, and I don't want to talk about the
Barron.
president's youngest son, but do people know this? Barron is fucking 6'7".
Yeah.
6'7" tall. That is one tall motherfucker. Now, I saw Barron Trump standing next to his father, and I was like, "Whoa, oh, he got big." Or did Trump like shrink or something? Did he like because he was towering over his dad, and I'm like, Trump. I thought he was like around 6 feet. Like, did he get smaller? Is he like
Getting
he
hunched.
like hunched over? Like, what's wrong with him? But no, Barron apparently is a fucking giant.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say anything bad about Barron. We could talk about his other children, Eric and Don
Horsetooth
Jr.
Eric and the other fucking cokehead.
But I don't want to talk about Barron. He's still in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it shocked me to know that he was that tall.
Yeah, I mean, that was strange. He definitely had a growth spurt because I feel like the last time I saw him, he was, like only yay high, and then suddenly, yeah,
like 5 years old. Now he's like, towering over Trump.
Yeah, Trump says
like,
he's 6'4" too. Remember, which is total shit. He lies about everything. That's the funniest part about that guy.
I feel like he just doesn't know and he guesses.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, like he lies about his. I mean, that's how he got in trouble with New York and his property value.
Right.
He's like, oh yes, I have so much square feet, and then now I don't have any square feet. Like,
yeah, it's like, what did he include the sky? Like I don't get it with this guy, man. I never do it.
Depending on whether or not it would cost him more in taxes or allow him to borrow more money.
Right. I mean, the only thing I'll say too,
and the square footage of his properties.
right, and like the only thing I'll say too, talking about with the election coming and everything, is I don't think anybody anywhere in this country is really excited about either what I will say is this: people
I
may
don't care. You don't got to. But hold on. You don't got to be fucking excited. That
right. That's another thing. You really don't have to be. That's a good
do
point
you want
too.
another insurrection?
Yeah, seriously. But the real
That's
deal
all
is
the question
this,
you got to answer. Do you want another insurrection?
right? But the real deal is
If
this
you do,
too,
vote for Trump. Go ahead. If you
right?
don't, vote for anybody else.
Yeah, for real.
I
I
don't
mean,
care.
that's got a lot of
Just vote.
truth to it right there. It
They're
does.
going to march again if he loses this time. They're going to march again. I guarantee you it.
Yeah, but see,
Let
that's the
them,
thing, though. We shouldn't be in
let them
fear of
bitch and
that
moan and whine.
because Joe Biden, the way it stands now, is the candidate for democracy. So, not for nothing, that is the safest bet where we stand now. You know what I mean? So, if he does
I mean,
win, which,
it's the bet if you're not an evil fuck.
yeah, and if you're just, you got a brain in your fucking head at this point because you have Joe Biden or a convicted felon. Those are the two options on the table right now. You know what I mean? And for anybody that's thinking, oh, well, maybe they'll switch or there'll be another, you're not helping because it's not going to be the case. One of those two is going to be
a
president.
hateful person, if you're have hate in your heart, if you know hate immigrants or hate minorities or
Right.
hate this or hate
Or if
that,
you want to lose
if
more
you're just
rights.
an angry, bitter person, like I could see why you would want to vote for Trump. Other than that, I just don't see his appeal. I
Me
don't.
neither. Me neither. And I'll
Honestly
tell you
don't.
another thing for anybody that is voting for him, thinking that like the whole world's going to change, it's going to be the exact, if not worse, as his last term. So just because you voted for him doesn't mean you're going to get anything out of it because he doesn't give a shit about you at all or any of us. You know what I mean? So you put some clown, let alone a convicted felon, back in office like that, and you think you're going to benefit from that? The last term, he's already taken rights away from women in red states. So what's going to happen this next time? You know what I mean? I'm going to keep saying that every fucking week too until it gets like through people's heads because like once rights are gone, they usually don't come back, and that's not good. We can't have
Yeah,
that. Yeah, like
he's going to walk us back to pre-20th century.
yeah, and he always says, "Oh, we should like the '50s and this, that, and the third. I'm a '50s guy." That's not something to brag about. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. Like how are we supposed to move forward when we're trying to bring back the past? You know what I mean? Like it's just and the way things are now is nothing like it was in the 1950s. You know what I mean? There is nothing that's even close to the way it is now, especially technologically. But you know what I mean? So there's just, I don't know. If you're still on that bandwagon, all I'm saying is you're really cutting your nose off to spite your face because you're not like joining this bandwagon and getting on there. It's not, you're not going to see any change. If anything, it's only going to be more stuff taken away. That's what, I don't know what you would expect otherwise from a convicted felon. So, you know what I mean? That's the bottom line. You know what I mean? So you may not like Joe Biden, but that's your safe bet of saving democracy as it stands. Because yeah, if it goes the other way, I don't see,
It's
yeah,
going to be
things.
hell.
It's going to be hell. Yeah,
There's
going
going
to
to
be
be so many
terrible.
people supposedly going to jail, and it's going to be stupid. And I don't know. I think he's kind of the megalomaniac where he try to get like death sentences for people for just doing, oh, Trump's an asshole. Oh, death sentence for you, off with his head.
Yeah, like it could come to that. You never know. It really could.
To quote a former president who attended Trump's inauguration speech, George W. Bush, upon hearing Trump's inauguration speech, in which he ranted about American carnage, that was some weird shit. That was the response of George W. Bush to Trump's speech.
Right?
I can't imagine what Trump would say at his, God forbid, second inauguration.
Yeah, not to mention
that day never comes.
I
To
pray
all
that
those
you're
Put
right.
it past that country to make the same mistake again.
And let's not also forget that this was the first time in American history where the peaceful transfer of power was not there either.
Yeah, no.
And like I don't think people realize that that's kind of important.
It was interrupted for the first time in American history.
Yeah, yeah, and like that clown is the reason why.
To stop, certifying the election,
right,
in Congress in order to evacuate, our elected representative.
Yeah, and it really shows
like it was a third world fucking country.
Yeah, and it shows you that the Republican Party, where it stands now, it's really a cult. because they're okay with this. Apparently, they could stop this. They could pull them out and put someone else with an actual brain in their skull in, but they're not interested in that. They
And
only
if
want to
Trump
win.
gets in, you know he's going to pardon every one of those motherfuckers who did that to our country.
Not only
Every-
that, but his
Every
other
one of
three-
them, he's going to say that's okay. That is
Yeah.
okay behavior because you did it on my behalf.
Basically, yeah, it's 100% right. And not to mention those other 3 criminal cases will just be forgotten. You know what I mean? So like that's another whole story in itself.
Without
So,
saying, Jack
yes.
Smith will be strung out and hung.
Yeah, like it's just, and we may not have elections anymore after that. Like
Oh,
people
yeah,
think,
no.
oh, that can't happen. Oh,
I mean,
it can. It
No,
can.
I mean, no. I think we'll have elections.
I
mean,
hope.
even
The other guy just miraculously
no,
die out of nowhere.
even in countries like Iran and in Russia, they have elections.
Yeah, yes, they do.
It
They
just-
have elections. They may
The
not
opposing
be-
opponent just doesn't survive.
Oh no, no, they do a good job of picking like puppets that will not win, but they'll they'll go out there and run and
Right.
But so
Right.
so like the thing of like just as an aside, think about like Iran is that they have like free and fair elections. It's just that in order to run for office, you have to be approved by the Ayatollah, right? You have to be approved by their supreme leader in order to be a candidate for president. Other than that, it's free and fair.
Yeah, right. You know what I almost think, this is a funny concept, but you know what I almost think they should do in this country? You know, like in NASCAR, all the cars have all the emblems of like who contributed. There's like Home Depot on there, Best Buy or whatever. I
There you
almost
go.
feel like we should do that with politicians. This way you know who they're in bed with. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's never going to happen, but I almost feel like they should do that. Oh, look at this. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think
This
that's
guy.
a practical.
It's never going to happen. You know what I mean? But if you think about it, it's not that different from that. It really isn't. Yeah.
Well, you might end up with a situation where you have, not enough room on a politician
to put the names.
unless you're like Chris Christie or something.
Yeah, there's plenty of room there.
Should.
And okay, folks, that's all we have here for Strange Planet Podcast for this week. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Love, guys.
Peace.